All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and a double honors to our apostles and elders at Great Millstone who do rule well. And salute, man. Much love to you, sincere brothers who push this truth week in and week out. Man, y'all brothers stay strong, man. We definitely almost home for real. And I'm going to start off with this Jeremiah 16 and 14. It says, therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, from all the land whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Exactly, man. And this lesson right here is it's a highlight. Matter of fact, it ain't a quick one. It might take probably at least 45 minutes because I want to show some of this footage in this documentary called Between Two Rivers, Cairo, Illinois. And I want to highlight this city, man. You know, this documentary did a great job of highlighting this city and basically using it to show you that, to further prove to you that we're definitely living in spiritual Egypt, man. We're definitely in the new Egypt. And notice that sign right there. It says future city. That's the spirit in itself. You know, Cairo, Illinois, and Cairo. That's the capital city. That's the capital city of Egypt, man. So you got Cairo, Egypt, and then you got Cairo, Illinois, man. The new Egypt. And by the way, the word Cairo means victorious. Victorious, man. And Egypt means bondage. So that's Esau, saying he's victorious and getting us in bondage or whatever. Having us in bondage, he's victorious over us. But the triumphing of the wicked is short, man, for a very short time. And also southern Egypt, Southern Illinois is also nicknamed Little Egypt, man. Little Egypt, man. You know? So, this is definitely, I'm finna get into it. Y'all gonna be like, man, this is crazy, man. You know, this is crazy how this place is straight up spiritual Egypt, man. You know? Not just how we served all bondage, but the racial tensions, a lot of the culture, everything, man. You know? And I'm gonna get straight into it. The Lord will be edified. Hey, all you microwave spirit people who want that quick little video and you don't have no attention span or anything like that, you might as well go on, click off right you could. You brothers don't sit tight, man. Lord willing, you be edified.
Well, naturally, being at the confluence of the two rivers here, where some cities can move 4 directions, we can only move 1 direction, which is primarily north. And I believe that Cairo does have good possibilities if we can get this situation worked out. Cairo is my town now, and we all should be striving to make it a better town, whether it's through tourism or everything put together to make this a better town. We've got to stay here. We can't give it away.
People here are very worried. Soon there may be a black mayor. Soon there may be a black city council. Can you imagine an old southern town having, with the white aristocracy, having a black mayor or a black city council?
This is my hometown, and I love this place here. I retired in '98. I ran business for 33 years.
Salakia about the noise in the background. Lord willing to go away in a few seconds or whatever.
And this is my hometown, and I love this place here. I retired in '98. I ran business for 33 years. And I retired, but then I got to seeing all the negative stuff and the bickering. So I thought, well, I could provide better leadership than what we had. I had administrative skills, I had leadership skills, I had people skills. So it's 150 years old. They never had a black mayor. I had the first one. But I'm the mayor for the white, black, Mexican, Puerto Rican, homosexual, or whatever. I'm the people's mayor. And that's what I want to do. I love people. I'm a people lover. It doesn't make any difference what color you are or whatever. I got just as many white votes as I did black. Now, I don't consider myself a politician. I just consider myself a leader.
You can't judge them on the color of their skin. You have to judge them on the merits of how they treat you. It doesn't bother me that we have a black mayor or a white mayor or what, you know, it's what can you do for this town?
Town ain't bad, it's just something need to be reworked on, I think so. Need something that gets this town going.
Okay, we're going over here. We're going to take you over to what I call the Badlands. We're coming up on Sycamore Street, the main drag, 51 that runs through town, the center of town here. And I'm going to take you fellas over here into the Badlands. It's not a safe place to live. It's not even a good place to even visit anymore down here, as you can well see. I lived here when I was a little bitty fella, because like I told you fellas, I come up poor. I wasn't like George, I didn't come up rich.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you confused with somebody else.
Yeah, you got me definitely confused.
Anyway, I lived right here when I was 8 years old. The house is gone now. There's a little duplex there. There was 9 of us kids lived here. We lived all over this town. What we would do, Nick, we were a rambunctious bunch of kids. We were kind of heathens ourselves. We were white, I guess you call white heathens, but my brothers would tear up a house. We'd all get in there, and we'd have to, Mom and Dad would have to find another house. So we basically lived all over town back then. We're coming up on the bad, worst part of town now. This is where the blacks lived, the Pyramid Courts. This is where the black guy, coming up on the bad, worst part of town now. This is where the blacks lived, the Pyramid Courts.
You heard him. He said, we're coming up on the worst part of town. This is where the blacks live. We know blacks. That's just code word for Israelite people, man. And he said, what? Pyramid Courts. Pyramid Courts housing projects, man. Ain't that spiritual? They named the housing projects where they housed Jake. Pyramid Courts, man. We know who built the pyramids in ancient Egypt. The slaves, man. The ones who served hardcore slavery in ancient Egypt, man. You know, and hey, another thing about this Cairo, Illinois city, it's I think it's located in Alexander County. Alexander County, and that's another thing that's spiritual. Alexander County. Don't they have Alexander, Egypt? Alexander, Egypt, named after Alexander the Great. Don't they got that? Hey, another fun fact. East St. Louis used to have a whole bunch of pyramids, man. Over there in Cahokia, Illinois. You know, that's like probably 3 hours away from Cairo, Illinois. So we're in spiritual Egypt, man. Quick precept, Deuteronomy 28:68. You notice he said it's the Badlands. It's the worst part of town where the blacks live. Remember to tell you in the scriptures that we was going to live in the worst areas. But those are a part of our curses, man. Those are a part of our curses because we continue to sin against the Most High over and over and over again. After he kept forgiving us and redeeming us. And now look where we at, man. Centuries of punishment under the foot of the so-called white man. But this is Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for buying men and buying women. And no man shall buy you. Exactly. We were sold into Egypt again on slave ships. You don't have to take a damn... You can walk to Egypt from the land of Israel, the ancient Egypt. It's talking about this new Egypt, man. Spiritual Egypt. For buying men and buying women. And no man shall redeem you. You know, let me get this Revelations 11:8. This is the spiritual Egypt. And just to further harp on that real quick, this is Revelations 11, verse 8. It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of that great city, the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Exactly. Our people are lying in that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. That's talking about America. Because we know America got more sodomites and more sodomy. The founding forefathers of this place were sodomites, man. You know, spiritually Sodom. Half of these Negroes out here and Latinos out here are sodomites now, man. Spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Egypt, Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. Egypt means bondage, man. This is our place of bondage. Just like we served 400, and I forgot the exact number. It was like 430, I think, something like that. Don't quote me on it. But we've been here around the same amount of time, man. You know? Spiritually Egypt. And Esau know. That's why he naming these cities after Egyptian. Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is an ancient Egyptian city. This devil got nerve to name his city Memphis, Cairo, Alexander, all this other stuff. Naming projects Pyramid Courts. Naming Southern Illinois Little Egypt, etc., man. He knows what's up. The elite devils know what's up. So continue on.
This is where the black guy, during the time when he was on leave out of the service, was walking through here and was shot. In my heart, I know who pretty well done that to keep the shit stirred up in this town, and that would be what they called the White Hats. Y'all remember me mentioning the White Hats? It was a group of white guys, basically like the Ku Klux Klan, you know what I'm saying? And they formed a group of what they called the White Hats. And they kept shit started down here, kept it rolling, kept it moving, kept it stirred up.
Mr. Level, you're the chairman.
White Hats. And they kept...
You heard that's Esau telling on Esau. He said there was a group of so-called vigilantes, a group of militia, Edomite militia in Cairo, Illinois that consisted of like 600 men. And they kept shit up, man. They kept all the drama up. They act like so-called black people burnt this down or shot this up, but it was really them. Just like they do today, man. This group of so-called white man, Edomites, a militia group called the White Hats, man. And hey, then the Klan wore white hats too. Well, I'm gonna continue on.
Shit started down here, kept it rolling, kept it Ku Klux Klan, you know what I'm saying? And they formed a group of what they called the White Hats. And they kept shit started down here, kept it rolling, kept it moving, kept it stirred up.
Mr. Level, you're the chairman of the Committee of 10 Million, commonly known as the White Hats. What's the purpose of the organization?
The Cairo chapter of the Committee of 10 Million, commonly referred to as the White Hats, is composed entirely of a roster of 600 Cairo citizens who have volunteered to serve as deputies for either the sheriff or the chief of police of Cairo in time of emergency declared by the mayor. Now that is what the organization is for, is to help in case of emergency.
But I remember when the White Hats set up on our front porch, we were under, I guess, martial law or curfew, and I guess it was state police here, but the White Hats were sitting on my front stoop. I remember that, right around the corner. And my aunt marched through the house with her shotgun, and she said, "Get off my porch now." And they left.
I can remember my mom saying, you know,
I'm gonna say this about them so-called Negroes that was out there in Cairo, Illinois. They was with the shits, man. They was with the shits. You can read about it. They said it was 170 straight days of gunfire between Esau and Jacob in Cairo, Illinois, because of all the racial unrest and the riots after they shot this Jake, who was in the military or whatever. They shot him in the project. No, they didn't shoot him. They well, it was all a build up, and then I guess that was the last straw when they killed that military Jake. They pulled him over or whatever and took him to jail, and they said he hung himself, but really they killed him. You know, and after that, Jake got to fighting Esau heavy. You know, I got an article on that. I don't think I'm gonna read the whole article. This video will be way too long, but we'll see.
They would let the kids out of the dance late that evening, and they would have to stand out inside the building and watch them walk back to the projects because there was a man on the corner, a white man on the corner with his arms crossed and his shotgun across his arm.
Did he have his white hat on?
He'd stand there with his arms crossed.
Do you
and his
remember what
shotgun.
the white hats look like?
I don't.
Well, Dad told me that they were just like construction hats. That they,
Oh, okay.
Because I envisioned pointy hats.
Yeah.
No, they were like a construction hat. And there were over 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dad was one.
Isn't that something?
To me, it all fit hand in glove. The people who had the wealth control.
And Dad was one.
Isn't that something?
You heard her dad was one. And I don't know if that's his wife or whatever. Let me see. Is that his wife? And now, the old Esau, his daughter popping Jake. She dealing with Jake, man. You sit here and did all this racist madness, and your daughter still ended up in the hands of a so-called black man. And she did it willfully, man.
His shotgun across his arm.
Did he have his white hat on?
He'd stand there with his arms crossed.
Do you
and his
remember what the
shotgun.
white hats look like?
I don't.
Well, Dad told me that they were just like construction hats. That they,
Oh, okay.
Because I envisioned pointy hats.
Yeah.
No, they were like a construction hat. And there were over 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dad was one.
Isn't that something?
To me, it all fit hand in glove. The people who had the wealth controlled all the power, made all the political decisions. And at least during those times, they were not interested in breaking that caste system or creating any sort of racial healing at all. It was much to their advantage to have the system work the way it did. The divisions that primarily characterized the South with respect to race were all brought together right there in Cairo in the two different groups. And there was no attempt at bringing the community together or trying to find the broad middle ground where both sides might reach some agreement. Not at all.
All right, that boycott is on, and they're going to stay on, and they're going to be on. All right, give me one on that. All right.
The white hats ran Cairo. There were white people, your upper crust people that ran the community. But yeah, they could get away with probably murder. You remember yesterday when I told you the blacks weren't allowed downtown to shop? Were they, George?
Oh.
They weren't allowed in town. I'll show you the parameter that they had to stay in, and they had little corner grocery stores. That's where they shopped. They weren't welcome downtown at all.
I used to even have a black nanny there that when I was real little, I got to call her mom. She was taking care of me that much. My mother and daddy had to sit down and talk things over, and I had to let her go because
That was the Piggly Wiggly, a big grocery store there. All right, like I said, I've lived all over this town. I'll show you where I lived during the worst of it, 68, 69. Right here, there's still the shotgun houses left, one of them. We lived right beside it. There used to be an identical shotgun house right here. This is where your poor people lived, in shotgun houses. The reason they call them shotgun houses is because they're straight through. You open the front door, you can see the back door. All this is back in here is called Poplar Street. This is where the blacks lived too. This was the poor black area back in here. That one night in particular I was telling you about, we were sitting here. We had a picture window right here in the front room. And I was watching the Outer Limits or the Twilight Zone. Back in the day, that was scary stuff. Anyway, we're watching TV, and all of a sudden, boom! Here comes this doggone window shattering. And I'm already watching Twilight Zone. That scared me to death. 57 Chevrolet my dad had given me because I was close to getting my driver's license. It was parked right here. They shot it full of holes. Pap, 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 pap. And I come out here and run around and see what was going on. Mr. Busby come flying around the corner. Somebody shoot. Anyway, he come out, and that's when he hands me this 30-06 banana clip. He said, "Here, boy." I grabbed it. He said, "That's protect yourself." He said, "It's war." And Cunningham Lumber Company right over here was on fire. The whole doggone sky was just red with flames. I got behind the mulberry trees, crunched down. The Busbys were over there hiding behind that right there. Actually, it's still there. That block formation there. And I'm sitting down there, and he's running up behind me. He said, "Do did you see I don't want to use that word. I said, I seen a couple running around. He said, well, they're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. You're going to have to shoot them. You're going to have to shoot them. I said, I can't kill nobody, but I'm a kid, you know. Anyway, about that time, here comes some little 18, 19-year-old black boy running across the parking lot, and it looked like he had a firebomb. They were bad about making Molotov cocktails. He had something in his hand, looked like he was fixing to do Lennings. And I'm sitting there, and he said, shoot that. He screamed at me, shoot that. Shoot that.
Yeah. We hear, us hearing the truth, we know Esau, when it come to burning down shit and rioting and looting, the Esau always behind that shit, man. You know, just like out here in Ferguson, where I'm from, most of those buildings that was being burnt up and all that, police was doing that, man. Professional arsonists that work for the government were also doing that. And that's caught on camera, man. Yeah, Jake burnt a little shit, but they fires didn't really burn the whole building. They just burnt up a couple aisles in the store or something, man. You know? So, but hey, Jake could have been the one setting them fires out there. Jake was mad. Jake was pissed off, man. You know? And quick scripture. This is Isaiah 19. I started 1. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Exactly. So we coming into a time where you're going to have Edomite on Edomite violence, so-called white people on white people violence. Then, Jake, we citizens of Egypt right now, so we going to be in there fighting each other too and fighting them too. You know? Read that again. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. And this was a quick example of that, man. In Cairo, it says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. And I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And yeah, so I'm gonna continue on, man.
And I put that 30-06 on him. I'll never forget it. I went, you shoot him. He went, oh, no, I don't shoot guns. I said, I gave Mr. Busby his gun back. About that time, the cops come flying through here, and they stopped right there. He got out, and he said, you got a gun? I said, well, I had one. He said, well, you better get one. The whole town was crazy. The whole town was crazy, I'm telling you. The whole town just went plumb nuts, turned into martial law. It wasn't the same people. They acted different. There was hatred, much hatred going on. It was
same shit happened in the old Egypt, man. Same shit happened in the ancient Egypt, man. You know? Scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun, man. That's a quote from King Solomon, man, the wisest man that ever lived. There's nothing new under the sun.
Crazy, crazy, stupid place.
You become aware of the tremendous division based upon race in that city, which may have been more prolific than even the larger cities of the state of Illinois and the nation. People have to want to, create a bridge over those divides and the artificial boundaries that traditionally divide people, whether they're race or religion, whatever they are. They've just always been prominent in that community.
Well, irregardless, as bad as this area is, it's still my home. I hate to say it, but I love this area. I love this area. Isn't that pitiful to say? But it's home. I mean, it's where I was born and raised. I know everybody down here. It's home.
I love Cairo with all my heart. These are my daylilies. They were at the back door of my
skip through this real quick,
farmhouse. Pioneers took these flowers with them west because they were one of the few flowers that would survive.
Mandatory evacuation of the city.
Oh yeah, that place like the flood too, man.
Levels.
It floods real bad out there. That's the city where, that's why it's called Between Two Rivers. It's the city where the Mississippi River and the Ohio River meet. They meet right there, you know? So it floods real, real bad. That's also a curse upon this wicked society, man. Upon that wicked area.
New York Times, April 30th, 2011. Levee breach moves one step closer. The rivers have continued to swell toward historic levels, prompting Mayor Judson Childs of Cairo to issue a mandatory evacuation of the city.
Cairo is going to bounce back because people in Cairo are people of faith. And I don't think that you can find people of a greater faith in people right here in this area. And I'm not just speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for the majority of the people in Cairo. We are people of faith. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
You a man that's all about money. Later on in this video, this old Jake, who was an activist, a so-called black community activist, he was talking about how in Cairo there's 43 churches, but there's only like two stores, 2 grocery stores. I'm talking about today's time. He said, how the hell all these churches running, man? Because they getting their government money, man. You know? The government got to have them in place to continue to keep the people manipulated and docile, you know? So, continue on.
Thank you.
That's the reason why I can rise up with thanksgiving in my heart. Thank God. Yeah. I got a feeling everything's gonna be alright. I got a feeling everything's gonna be
Drake at church.
And the poverty.
Hold on, let me skip through
where
some.
Chicago Daily Tribune, November 12th, 1909. The fury of the mob has been growing in intensity since early Wednesday night, when Sheriff Davis smuggled Will James, the Negro lynched tonight, out of town to save his life. James was held for Miss Pelly's murder and was caught with the sheriff and a deputy yesterday afternoon, brought back to Cairo. James was lynched in the most prominent square of the city, the rope being wound over the public arch at 8th and Commercial Streets.
A young 3-year-old girl found the body of Anna Pelly. Town fathers got together and they called in 4 teams of dogs, and the dogs quickly there went to a woman's house called Loving Green. Loving. Loving Green was her name. And she was a black woman who had held a house of ill repute. She gave testimony that William Froggy James was there that evening. And so they arrested William Froggy James and put him in the courthouse. That's really when word started getting out strongly throughout the community that someone was in the jail for the murder, and he might have been a minority. But the crowds grew so large, they were coming from all outside the area, and they were being whipped up by locals as well. The sheriff realized he had to do something, so the sheriff took Froggy James and left, got on the train, and headed north. A group, possibly a lynch mob, had stolen a train in Anna, Illinois, and was taking it down the same set of tracks, south towards him. So he jumped the train with Froggy James and tried to make his way through the countryside, but the mob caught him about 4 a.m. the next morning, beat up the sheriff, and took him and Froggy James back to Cairo. Now, at this time, you have to understand the terrible things that were happening in Cairo while this lynch mob was going. They were very mad that Froggy James was not in the courthouse any longer or in the jail cell. So they busted down the doors and they went in there. They tried to get the blacks out of the jail cells. Fortunately for the men inside, they were never able to get the jail cells open, except for one man, and that was for Albert Salzner, the white man. And he had been charged with killing his wife with an axe. So they took him out in the streets and they lynched him and tied him to a pole. When Froggy James was brought back down, there was a metal archway that went over the street on the corner of 8th and Commercial. They tied the rope around there and tried to raise James's body up into the air, but the rope broke. They tried it again and it broke again, so they shot him. And they shot him multiple times. They cut his head off, put it on a spike, set it on fire, burned various parts of the body, cut his heart out, cut it open to the little bitty pieces, sold it as souvenirs, and there are people still living in the community there that have different pieces of that heart still in formaldehyde. And there are pieces of the rope that was used. But while the head was sitting on a spit, on a pike, and while the body was laying there smoldering, you had long lines, long groups of women and children was marching by. The housewives would walk by with their 4- and 5-year-old kids, while the boys and the little girls would spit on the body and kick it. And it went.
That's how these devils rock. Said they shot his ass so many times they couldn't hang him because the rope kept snapping. I think that's what he said. They just shot him hella times, cut him up, cut his head off, cut his heart out, and cut it into little bitty pieces and dispersed it through different people out, different Edomites, and there's still Edomites in the community that's sitting around, got them pieces of heart as souvenirs from that murder. Set his body on pieces, the chunks of his body on fire, and then the kids and the women and shit running around kicking his body parts, man. And the man never had a trial, man. They don't even know if this man was even guilty or whatever, bro. The man never had a trial. So hold on, this is Judgment 2:13. For he shall have judgment without mercy that has showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. Hey, y'all showed no mercy in judgment. Therefore, y'all will receive no mercy. You so-called white people. Y'all showed no mercy. You modern Egyptians. You Edomites. Y'all showed no mercy. You will receive no mercy. You damn devils. I can't stand these devils, man. And hey, as far as Froggy, whatever his name is, that's judgment upon him too, man. I mean, that's the Lord allowed that to happen to him. Hey, the Most High must have been real pissed at him to use them devils to do such a gruesome crime against that man, you know? That man really pissed the Most High off with whatever something he did in his life or whatever, you know? And matter of fact, let me get to Deuteronomy 21 real quick. Deuteronomy 21, that is gruesome, bro. That's how Esau do you. He overkill you. Let's do Deuteronomy 21 and 22. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. Exactly, man. It says, cursed be the man that hangeth on the tree. Shit, basically. Cursed be the man that hangeth on the tree. And we was under the curse. We are still under the curses of Deuteronomy 28th chapter, man. Deuteronomy 28th chapter. Now the fact Deuteronomy 28 and 40, hold on. Let me get this real quick since I said that. Deuteronomy 28 and 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle fleeth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. A nation of fierce countenance. A cruel, cruel nation, man. A cruel nation, man. That's Esau Edom, man. Who exalts himself as the eagle? Whose symbol is the eagle? Who national symbol is the eagle? The so-called white man, Esau Edom, man. I'm gonna continue on.
For hours.
New York.
All the boys and little girls, women and children, was marching by. The housewives would walk by with their 4- and 5-year-old kids. All the boys and little girls would spit on the body and kick it. And it went on for hours.
New York Times, November 15th, 1909. The lynchings were the harvest of the seeds of lawlessness that have been sown in Cairo for years, said the Reverend A.S. Buchanan. I do not mean to say that the crime of lynching is ever justifiable, but Cairo's citizenship had to be aroused to a sense of its own responsibility by some great horror like this. I believe the tragedies of the last week will serve to awaken the city out of its lethargy. The Reverend George H. Babcock of the Church of the Redeemer Episcopalian said, "This defiance of law and order made the lynchings necessary for the infliction of justice."
This vigilante justice gave the town fathers basically a way of saying, we've cleaned up Cairo, we've done the right thing. One of the unique aspects of this crime is it probably had as much to do with the downfall of Cairo in the long run as anything else. There's no question about it.
That's spiritual. He said all the evil that them devils was doing to so-called white people, it led to the downfall of Cairo. You know? That's the spirit of the Most High.
As they ran the illegal or illicit commerce that was going on in Cairo out, they ran out a lot of the jobs, and it hurt the entire community.
When I was in Congress, based upon the old Appalachian model of the Great Society under Lyndon Johnson, the war on poverty in America, we formed a Delta caucus because the Delta region of this country is now the poorest region of America. And Cairo is probably one of the poorest cities in that entire Delta region. We're seeing now money flowing from that Delta initiative to Cairo as well as other cities up and down that river. But gosh, I love my country deeply, and I believe this country is capable of overcoming anything. And we've come miles from where we were in the 60s when I was growing up, But there's still, people talk about President Obama today. Listen, a lot of the criticism of President Obama today comes from those old attitudes that just have never been given up. That's true. They don't want to admit that, but it's still there.
See right here, this picture right here went all over the world. This is me right here. We had that flag. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. This place was supposed to have been a big place, man, just like a little Chicago, But the whole downtown area, it was like this, like we could go there and spend our money, but we couldn't get jobs in those stores. That's why we formed a united front, in order to get the jobs and everything,
Now, some people are still calling, wanting to know when the boycott is going to be over. The problem is this. We have black people who are asking for certain things, and we got a bunch of old white people, like Peyton Bourbon and Harry Boland, who are saying never. So, the boycott, don't even ask about it. It's still on, it'll be on, and we don't want to see you downtown. In fact, we recommend that you don't go downtown.
Once we started that economic boycott, the 5 millionaires that control the whole economics of Cairo, they pulled their money out and went elsewhere, you know. And, we won the battle, but we lost the war because we didn't have nothing to replace the business that refused to hire blacks and everything else, you know. It was a lot of things that happened back then, you know. And you look around Cairo now, and you see, here we got 43 churches in Cairo. 43 churches. You know what I'm saying? And no jobs. No jobs.
Damn.
Well, they all died.
Crazy, man. Crazy, but that's a damn good documentary. That you can go watch the whole thing yourself. It's an hour and 35 minutes long, but I'm finna pull a little bit out of this article right here. Let me see if this will work for me. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, this article got a lot of meat in it, so I ain't gonna read the whole thing, man. This video already 40 minutes long, but this is theweeklychallenger.com, and this article, Hidden History. At the crossroads of race in America, the death of a black soldier ignited and helped end this town. And that was July. This article was written on July 13, 2017. Yep, this town, man, that's one of the worst looking towns in America. It's mostly vacant, man. It went from like 15, 20,000 to maybe 2,500 people. Now it's mostly just Jake, like 2,500 Jakes or whatever. And I ain't gonna read the whole thing, man. I'm gonna just scan down. I'm scan down. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, this getting into how they killed that military officer, that Jake. I spoke on that earlier. Was they killed him and then tried to say it was a suicide. I'm just gonna start right here, bro. I ain't gonna read all that. It says, according to an account given and Let My People Go, authorities paid the jailer, who apparently saw what happened between Hunt and the officers. Hunt was their military, Jake. And of course, the officers, they killed him and claimed it was a suicide. And it said they paid him to stay silent and leave town. The body was embalmed without an autopsy. FBI documents obtained by the Cairo Project indicate that the Bureau did not pursue the case, fearing the riots and violence they believed would follow. The NAACP did fight and win the right to have Hunt's body autopsied, but the report detailing the results of that autopsy has been lost, and conflicting results were published by the regional papers at the time. The actual cause of Private Hunt's death will likely never be known. We know what really happened. It says Private Hunt's death and the cover-up which followed triggered an explosive outrage from Cairo's black community. Which, it said an explosive outrage from Cairo's black community, which ultimately erupted into 3 days of riots. On July 17, protesters firebombed a warehouse, a car, and 3 businesses, including a lumber mill that employed mostly black workers. Oh, man, Jake. The foreman's home was also burned. The following day, shots were fired at a police car and more businesses were firebombed. Sporadic gunfire was also reported. By July 20th, a protest leader declared that Cairo would become Rome, burning down if the white community did not meet blacks' demands for economic equality and an end to segregation and police brutality. And it says, Governor Otto Kerner called the National Guard to restore peace and order, martial law, once again. See, history just keep repeating itself. And it said this meant black areas of town were cordoned off, and an 8 p.m. curfew was imposed. So the black areas was under curfew and martial law. It said a curfew was imposed, punishable by arrest, for they can get your ass in cells and kill you, man. Let me keep on going. Meanwhile, white residents formed formed a vigilante group which became known as the White Hats, and they talked about that in that documentary. And it's more on that too, man. Like I said, the documentary is like over an hour and a half long. Y'all can go check it out. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. And it says a 1987 article in the Washington Post reports that stories being handed down to today's black youth by their elders tell the horror of the time. Tales of people sleeping in bathtubs to protect themselves from the pot shots of white marauders. See that? You saw sitting here doing drive-bys in the projects by them people under the martial law, and before they was up under martial law. Just remember what they white dude in the Edomite documentary was saying. He was saying them the ones who kept stirring up the shit. The White Hats, man. The Edomite militia, man. And it says whole neighborhoods becoming de facto detention camps, ringed by troops and controlled by strict curfews. Police assuming that any group of 3 or more blacks constituted a riot threat. That's how these devils was rolling. Continue on. Cairo remained the city at war for the next few years. According to the Post, blacks attacked the police station. Police attacked the housing project, the pyramid housing projects, and etc. And while white and black citizens attacked each other, in 1969, more than 170 nights of sniper fire were reported to authorities. It said in 1969, more than 170 nights of sniper fire were reported to authorities as a deep-seated rage at years of systematic racism ran up against vestiges of an unrelenting antebellum attitude. Cairo devolved into hold on. We gotta let that sink in, bruh. 170 nights of sniper fire. That's a lot of gunplay. And in other articles, it tell you just 170 nights of straight gunfire. Gun battles between Esau and Jacob, man. See, the hatred run deep, man. It says, Cairo devolved, not developed. Developed is the opposite of developed. Developed is the opposite of devolved. It says, Cairo devolved into a racially tense and socially stagnant place. The decline of the riverboat industry and the rise of the railway created an economic vacuum that exacerbated an already difficult situation for the town. Cairo fell hard and fast. In the years after the death of Robert Hunt, journalist Ron Powers would call Cairo a violent and sorrowful little town, a crushed snake waiting for the setting sun to steal its thrashers. At its peak in 1920, the town had a population of 15,000. Today, just 2,300 people live in Cairo, a ghost of its former self, symbolic of a country trying and failing to overcome its brutal history. That's symbolic of America in its entirety, man. You know? That's the story of America right there. The same shit happened in East St. Louis and many other different cities, man. You know, but y'all check that out, man. The history of Cairo, Illinois, that's a pretty good one, man. This is definitely modern day Egypt, new Egypt, man. Spiritual Egypt, where we serve our bondage. We're at the end of our bondage too, man. We're towards the end of it. So it's pretty spiritual, man. And yeah, Lord willing, you were edified. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Shalom to the hopeful elect, Kwame Yasha Allah, a Bible ball.